Good evening and welcome to Diversity in the Community. I am your host, Teresa Harris. I am so proud to have with me again Valerie Ingram. She's a writer, producer, actor, and I want her to introduce herself and tell you a little bit about herself, and then we'll go into the actual interview. Valerie, welcome to my program again.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
just
for having
appreciate you being here. I saw one of your shows and I just absolutely loved it. So just tell us something about yourself.
Well, again, my name is Valerie Ruby Ingram. I'm from New Britain, Connecticut. I'm a native of New Britain with very strong roots in North Carolina. I started writing over 40 years ago, I'm going to say, because I don't remember a time that I didn't write. At all, with a little piece of paper and a pencil from the time I was a kid. But started really focusing on productions probably about 20 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, and worked with a peer education project called Destiny's Golden Squad, and we went all throughout Connecticut. It was a group of teenagers. Went all throughout Connecticut, anywhere that would allow me to come in to bring messages, and it was really thinking subjects that they felt affected teenagers.
Okay.
So whether it was struggling with your parents, with schoolwork, with peer pressure, and so they were the core of subjects on whatever we would brought forth, because it was a teenage population that we met with. But it wasn't until 2007 that I really began to think about I need to take this to another level. And I was working at an agency and they wanted to create something for World AIDS Day. And I thought, well, let's do a production. So the first production was with service providers and clients, and it was Who Is It? And it was really based around who is it, and HIV and AIDS. Who is infected and how that looks in different communities. So when I came back to the stage, that was, did that once, and then I put it down. And I said, okay, this is good. And the cast that was there then said, what are we gonna do next? We should take this on the road. And I said, no, thank you. I'm fine. With this one time we did it for work, and it kept working on my spirit for years. 7 years to be exact. 2014, Who Is It was back on the stage.
Okay.
One of the actresses that was with me on the first production was with me then. She's with me now. So she has 10 years that she's been in the production company.
What was her name? I think I know who you are.
Cheryl and Jack.
Yes. Okay.
Very dedicated. Then she was one of the ones who were saying to me, we have to take this on the road, we have to do this, these are great messages. And so let me just say, the cast from the first day to this one production is phenomenal. They are a group of the most creative, energetic, passionate people that I have ever met in my lifetime. And their dedication to this project, the fact that they believe in my vision is just breathtaking for me. So oftentimes with the production, I look and how they bring the characters to life, and being able to see your visions come to life, it just is overwhelming sometimes.
But the thing is that's so important about your plays. I mean, I've only seen you reap what you sow, but it's a message. It's just not people getting up and just acting. It's a message to it, you know. So it's not just comedy or whatever. But even you, when you were saying when you started out with the teens, you guys had a purpose. It wasn't just going out and just doing something. It was a message that you were trying to give out to people, right?
Yes, and this is the goal of Ruby's Round Production, and the mission is just to heighten awareness about so many different social taboos that go on, whether it's health disparities. As I said, I started out with HIV/AIDS awareness. It could be about transgenderism. It could be about gay and lesbian issues, homelessness, substance abuse, addiction, recovery, domestic violence. There's so many different subjects
Right,
that
right.
are covered, because oftentimes in our communities, we sweep things under the rug and we go into
Yes, we do.
what goes on at home stays at home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ruby's Realm Productions' goal and mission is to kick those doors open, is to
Mhm.
open all of those windows and to let folks know that these things are going on in your house, they're going on in my house too.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to bring about some healing, because
Right,
oftentimes
right,
when
right.
you're suffering in silence, when you don't think that this is going on next door to you.
Right, right.
But these things happen to individuals, families, and communities. So when you come to the production, I always put a little disclaimer out
Mm-hmm.
to get ready and buckle up. Because
Mhm.
you never know what you're gonna expect, and I never know how it's gonna affect people.
Right, and there's a lot of that needed, especially for young people who are struggling with, like you said, homosexuality. How is it going to be accepted by the parents? Transgender people, drugs, people who may have HIV. So I think this is so important. Question for you: when you started writing, were you just journaling, or did you just, when you were writing were you writing stories or poetry, or just about life? You know, because I mean, a lot of people, I started out like just journaling, writing things about myself in a journal. But was that for you, or was it you were just actually writing stories or
I would just write stories.
stories?
I would write stories, I would tell stories, and I didn't really realize that how long I'd been telling stories. My niece's best friend, T, had said to me, I want my son to come over so you can tell him stories. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, the stories that you used to tell us. And she's a grown woman now. And it really got me to think about, wow, you've been telling these stories since they were babies. And it's always been a part of our family on how we just continue to keep folks alive in our family. We would all tell stories. And even when I went home, and I called North Carolina home,
Mm-hmm.
we still get together and we tell stories. And that's how we keep our lineage going. So it's no different today.
Mm-hmm.
But when I started, I see this whole vision, and I never know how to think little. I see the bigger picture and then try to bring it down, and that never works for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it all happens at the same time. With Who Is It? It's a different production when I did it the second time, but the messages were the same. And I wanted to keep those core components in place with that. So it was just, it's a wonderful way. Sometimes it's really amazing to me on how it works. It always, I want to say always, most often happens at 3 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm asleep and I wake up with this vision and I'm at my laptop and just the stories unfold. In
Wow.
no way the characters come to life and they just materialize.
Oh my God. Now, and you reap what you sow. No, I'm stop with, we talked about, Who Is It? Now that story was the one about, what was that story about?
That was based on HIV and AIDS. And
That's
really
right, that's right.
Posing the question is who can be infected in your family, your community, or even yourself.
And then you followed up with Who Is Next?
Who is it next?
Who Is It Next? So
And
that was a
just
follow-up.
a spin-off.
That was a spin-off. And I Feel Like Screaming. What was that one about?
That was about just how folks hold everything in and walk around in a state of confusion and anxiety and really wanting to let things go. That performance focused on a gay character that lived a lifetime of being afraid to disclose his sexuality, and when he exploded on stage, we all were in awe because in the scene he was screaming at his mother, and his mother would not accept his sexuality. And it was a fabulous display, and the cast has informed me that the stage is healing ground for them. So many of them, unbeknownst to me, have gone through these different experiences, and they often ask me, how do I connect them with the characters? And I have no previous knowledge that these situations have really touched their life, but they're issues that they've never talked to anyone about. And for me, the most powerful was a scene where two characters talked about their family members and ancestral behaviors. And they had disclosed to me that this happened in their family, and they never told anyone. So when they were on stage and the tears were coming out, and that you could feel the anguish, but you could also see the freedom with everything that was going on. And behind the scenes, we spent a lot of rehearsals with tears and hugs and just support of each other on what was going on. And actually, in that performance, there were two women who were enemies growing up. They hated each other to death. I didn't know, and I brought them together, and their relationship healed because of this performance. Because in the performance, they had to work together. And so, you know, it's just been a blessing on how things come together on these performances, and God has His hand all over.
That's what I was going to say next. When things come together like that, you really can't explain, because you can't really explain how you would come up with these concepts and then have these people in your group, or actors and actresses, who a lot of the stuff had happened in their lives. So there's no other explanation, is that it's just a gift from God to have given you the titles, and the people, because like I was saying before, it's tough to find a group of people that are willing to work together, that can work smoothly together without, you know. So when these kind of things come together, I feel that it's God got His hand all in it, working in it, you know.
The cast has told me, this cast, that this is not just a production company, but this is a family. And how we get together and we work together and encourage each other is so essential. After my writing's done, and editing, let me add editing, because that's the bleeding component, is just the editing piece. But my job is to help all the actors and actresses bring their character to life.
Right.
And I'm grateful that there are a couple of things that happened this year that allowed me to gain tools to help them grow, to create those characters and allow them to come out. Some are new on stage, and I encourage them to just have fun with the characters, because they're not the people, they're someone else. And so there are times when it could call for that character to be full of emotion and cry. How do we do that? How do we pull up that sort of emotion? So my job as the director is to help them work on tools so that they can recall different situations and they can bring that expression to stage. And they are going to do that on November 4th.
Well, I can't wait to see that one. You reap what you sow. That kind of went home for me. And sometimes you don't even have to do anything, because what in the Bible says, vengeance is mine, says the Lord. And that one really, I mean, now can you talk a little bit about what the story was around? The title, you know, speaks for itself, but a little bit about what happened in that show.
But you know, you think about you reap what you sow, and you think about the benefits of something. But it really was talking about the harvest and how that's the work. That's the work that goes into something. That's what you have to prepare for the next season. So the message in that for me was to continue on what is going on. In the play itself, it really talked about generationally the characters, on how when you're young and you grow into a teenager, midlife, or older, more seasoned, I'm going to say, person, on how what you do here affects you here. The type of person that you are, and how you interact with the world is gonna come back at you.
Yeah.
And it may not be something that comes back to you, it may be in your family, it may be in your children,
Right.
it may be in your grandchildren,
Mhm.
but it's gonna come back.
Right.
And how karma just sort of silently sits and waits for you and watches everything you do, and then one day says, oh, by the way, I'm still here, long after you've forgotten. And how to be kind to people and treat people really how you want to be
How you
treated.
want to be treated.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That was a great show. I enjoyed that one. I don't want you to give away too much of "Don't Bite the Hand That Feeds You," but can you tell us a little bit about what that story is about?
I definitely can. It is about power, promiscuity, and pain. Those three things are what the production's about. It centers around a drunk driving accident, on how, because of this accident, in this community, everyone's lives are torn apart. Try not to say too much without saying too much. The production just looks at how everything is connected, everyone is connected, and in communities, and how secrets and lies that are, again, not talked about can really come out and damage people. When folks may think early on, it's okay, we just won't tell them, they'll never know. But never comes out, and never is going to come out on November 4th. And it's not going to be a pretty never at all. And the goal of all of the productions is to really have the audience look at these things that are being brought up and to identify with them as the play unfolds. Do you see yourself? Do you see your family? Do you see someone? And to look at, I'm not by myself.
Right.
Dealing with any. So all of the productions all have the same component to offer that awareness. And as you said earlier, I don't write in order just for pure entertainment.
Right.
There's always messages, and there may be multiple messages in the productions, depending on where you're looking at it from.
Have you ever thought about at the end of your show having a sort of talk back?
I have.
Oh, you have? Okay.
It hasn't been in place as of yet, but it may be something we could consider for upcoming shows for next year.
So have people waited around after a show and come to you and say, "Oh my God, it's I've had that happen to me in my life." Have you had people do that after a show?
I've had someone call me 2 days later to tell me that they were HIV positive.
Wow.
And that they never told anyone.
Mm.
And so I just connected them into care so that they knew how to take care of themselves. They knew they weren't alone. I've had individuals come and say, my son is positive, and I never told anybody.
Wow.
Or I see myself, that domestic violence, that woman that was all beat up on stage, that was me.
Mm.
Or the drunk uncle, that was my uncle that was always on the couch at my house. That was the uncle that touched me. And they knew. They knew what was going on all along, and no one said anything.
Wow.
And so there's power that goes on where, and not just myself, for cast members as well, folks have come up and shared their story, because now you can see on stage someone who's like me and identify with this situation, and finally, for maybe once in your entire life, have the freedom to just say, yeah,
That's what I was
that's
going to
me.
say. Freedom, because if a person was able, if someone was holding that in all those years, and they were able to come to you and talk to you about it, it probably took so much off. They probably wanted to tell somebody for years. So it's that freedom of being able to walk up to somebody and not knowing that you're not going to be judgmental, because your show is opening up all the things that people are hiding and keeping, So I can just imagine the freedom of the person walking up and saying that I'm HIV or my son is or whatever. So you're doing a good work.
Something that happened in, I Feel Like Screaming,
Mm-hmm.
after, the character that played Joshua,
Mm-hmm.
he was a very tall, built, muscular young man, played an excellent role. And there was a member of the audience that said, after the production to me, that guy can't be gay. How do you play a gay role? And I said, why can't he be gay? And he said, look at him.
Mm-hmm.
He's all muscular. And I said, gay doesn't have a look.
Hmm.
And he just looked at me. But I continued to hear the
Mhm.
stigmas associated with,
Yeah.
with different things. And
Yeah.
so here's someone who's looking at someone on stage in a role
Mm-hmm.
and assuming because it's just a role that they can't be that because of how they physically look.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a teaching moment for me to let them know, I'm sorry, gay doesn't have a look.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see in his expression it didn't set in well, but
Mhm.
that's okay. You thought about it enough, it shook you enough to ask me the question. So I gave you some information.
Right. Now you had, was it a couple of your grandkids that was in one of the, like, how was it that working with them and what did they, I mean, because they were young, what did they actually get out of, do you think they got the message?
They've worked in 3 productions with me.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandson, who is 10, they're always at the rehearsal, they're always helping me. My granddaughter is walking around with the script all the time. And he said, I want to be in it. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, I don't know, I want to be in it. And he was serious. And I thought to myself, what a better way to teach them about the arts than for them to be submerged into a production. And they've been a part of it every time since, even if it's a small part, that they had to learn their lines.
Mhm.
And I watched them work together, learn their lines. And my granddaughter is phenomenal. She has a memory that is going to take her a long way
Wonderful.
with how she could read something and be able to recite so quickly, verbatim. And I had to really look at her when she had a pretty big dialogue for an 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And she was excellent. She really was. So it's never too early to introduce kids to the arts, and it's never too late to be introduced to the arts.
So you must be to them an exciting grandma.
I don't know.
A fun, exciting. Has your husband been in any of them, or
He has.
Oh, he has.
He has, yes.
Okay.
He played a role in I Feel Like Screaming,
Okay.
and he was exceptional. He actually filled in. What happened, one of the original members wasn't able to keep the commitment.
Okay.
And I was stressing about it. And I said to him, he saw that I was stressing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I just got to pray on this. Because God's going to send the right person at the right time. I'm just going to pray. And so I just went off and prayed for a little while. And maybe 2 days later, I came home and I said, you know what? You've been in front of me all the time.
I was going to say the right person was right in front of you.
And he said, I can't do this. And I said, oh, we're going to work together. And we worked for days back and forth. He was exceptional. And he brought to life something that I couldn't bring because the role was an African-American man.
Mm-hmm.
He changed it into a West Indian, Jamaican man. So he
Okay.
brought Patois into the role to a whole nother level. So it was exceptional.
Oh, wonderful. Now, where do you see Ruby Realm in 5 years?
5 years.
Yeah. Well, I should start with next year. Well, I know you got so many things in your...
I have 2 performances. I did an interview the other day, and the gentleman that was interviewing me had asked me that. And I said, I don't really know, but I know that we're moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a continual push
Mm-hmm.
for me to bring these messages. And so I sat down earlier today and I thought, I'm going to do a performance in April and I'm going to do a performance in November for next year. So those 2 are my goals. And then I'd really like to begin working in film and put one of the production into a film version.
That would be wonderful. That's what I love about you, because, you know, when you look at it out on Facebook and how you put all this on Facebook, it makes you excited about it. You know, like right now you're doing the countdown. 10 more days, 20. I remember when it was, 30 more days, then 22. So you're making, I love the way you get out there and you're pushing it, because you just have that confidence that God is going to bless. You know, so I love that about you. So that's why in 5 years, no telling what you're going to be doing in 5 years. I just believe that this is going to be, I just believe Ruby Realm is just going to explode. And like you said, with film, and I think you're going to give other people, by even the interview, because you have a little bit of you in you, what I have in me. I'm always looking to do something more, something different. I'm like my daughter said, well, Ma, when you are finally laid to rest, there's going to be nothing else for you to do. I said, that's right. I love life. I enjoy life.
We have limited time here.
Yes.
And that's something that I really have to look at and realize. And God gives us all gifts. What you do with them, that's your choice.
Exactly.
And so if you know you have a gift of creating, whether it's music or art or whatever it can be, to do that, you might not know how.
Right.
Or what, or even where, but just trust in the process.
Yeah.
And ask, I started off asking questions. How do I do this? What do I do? And now I can go into it knowing the things that need to be done. But I started off knowing absolutely nothing about how I wanted to do a play. I just knew I wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed I could.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was it right there. And I've always been one, you can't tell me I can't do something, because it'll get done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think twice about who was going to believe in this, who was going to support it. I told the cast from day one, if we open the curtain and there's one person in the theater,
Give it your all.
our job is done.
Yeah.
We have one person there.
Yeah.
So with the first who is it and the curtain opened, there were a lot of people there. I was in awe. It's like, oh, there's more than one. And we laughed about it as a cast, because I do this not for monetary gain, but because there's so many messages that we need to hear,
Right.
that we need to know about, and people shouldn't suffer in silence anymore.
Right, right. And I think what you were saying is wonderful too, because like you said, if there was only one person, the cast should give everything they got to that one person that's sitting out there, because that one person is sitting out there because they have a need, and they're there for a reason. So I love that. I love it.
And what we try to do, shouldn't say, what we do
Mm-hmm.
is we capitalize on what's going on today,
Mm-hmm.
and we bring it to the stage.
Mm-hmm.
We have a very powerful scene that's going to happen about social injustice this time,
Mm-hmm.
in a way like never before, on how Ruby's Realm stands firm with fighting injustices. And there's a lot that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
So there's going to be, there's power on top of power in the production.
Mm-hmm.
But this one scene, I can't wait to be a part of it.
Mm. Oh, I'm excited. So I want you to tell everyone where it's going to be, what time, anything else you need to tell them. You know.
Okay.
Okay.
The production is dope.
I think you want to look in
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. The production will be held at Trinity on Main, 69 Main Street in New Britain, Connecticut, November 4th, 2017, beginning promptly at 6 o'clock. You can get tickets from Ingramson. You can get tickets from 1044 Capitol Avenue, So Fly on West Main Street in New Britain, or Trinity on Main. This is a phenomenal production. Please come out and see it, enjoy it, and be a part of it.
Okay. Now, what was the other one? You said one name I didn't understand. The first one that you were naming the places where you can get your tickets. The very first thing you said.
Ingramson, the number there.
Ingerson.
Ingramson. The number is 860-770-1549. That's the direct number to get tickets, or you can get them at the door as well. There's also an Eventbrite that you can get your tickets.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm planning on being there. I'm excited. I know it's going to be wonderful. I mean, I enjoyed the last one. I saw it twice, actually. I came both times to see, what was the one? You reap what you sow. I saw it twice, and I really enjoyed it. So I really thank you guys for watching this show, and I'm really encouraging you to please go out and see this production, because like I said, I've seen 2 of Val's shows, and they have been wonderful. I know that you're going to enjoy it. It won't be a waste of your money. It won't be a waste of your time. So go out, bring the family, and enjoy yourself. Have a fun night out. Go eat some dinner and then go out and see the show. But I really thank you for watching Diversity in the Community, and I'll see you next time. Good night.